I like that it's not, that the focus of the staff and the faculty is not just on the academic side of things. They really look at the children kind of like as a whole and really focus on kind of that social and emotional aspect of being at school.
Hi, I'm Danielle and I'm from Our Kids. I just spoke with Carrie, the mother of two girls who attend Montcrest School in Toronto. Listen to Carrie talk about her daughter's learning styles and how the school was able to support their needs and help support their personal development as individuals. And can you tell me a little bit more about Abby and Claire? What are they like? What are their likes and dislikes?
Oh, okay. So they're both really very creative children. Abby specifically is very interested in drama and singing. She's a really great creative writer as well. Claire is similar in some ways. She really does kind of steer towards kind of the arts side of school, but she also really loves math, and so she's kind of the type of kid who picks up things really quickly when it comes to like games. Like, for example, over the summer, she learned how to play poker, and so she's really into card games. And so like I wouldn't challenge her to a game of chess if I were you. So she's really, so it's really interesting just to see how they both use those different sides, the sides of their brain.
And what learning styles do they have? What kind of learners are they individually?
Yeah, so again, very different in that regard. So I would say Abby is more of like a focused, like independent learner. She likes a very structured atmosphere where she can, really understand what those measures of success are and what those kind of goalposts are, and really thrives in an environment like that. Whereas Claire kind of benefits more from like smaller, more collaborative group type of environments. And one of the great things about Montcrest is that they're actually kind of both getting those needs met, like in the same place, which is terrific.
And can you explain the process that you took to choose Montcrest? Were you considering other school options for your daughters? And if so, why did you go with this school ultimately?
Sure. Yeah, so we definitely did look at some other school options. I actually remember my husband and I going to one of the Our Kids expos in our early kind of research stages and looked at a few different schools, but what I do remember is meeting a few grade 6 or grade 7 students at Montcrest, and I remember being so impressed with how confident and how articulate and how genuine those kids really were, and those were kind of traits that I wanted to foster in my kids. When we toured around to the schools and had individualized visits, it was a very warm kind of environment, and we were looking for a smaller co-ed school, so that already kind of narrowed our choices in the terms of private schools that are available. And so we really just felt that in addition to having a balance between the arts and maths and sciences, it just felt like the right fit for us.
And do you remember what the application process was like?
I do. It was something that we had never experienced before. Abby being our eldest, and so I do remember the admission staff being really helpful during the process. So obviously we would fill out a paper application just like we did at. I think we applied to 3 schools in total. So same application process of filling out a form, and then Abby went for a half of a day visit with the senior kindergarten class, because that was the year that she would be joining, and just to get a sense for her of the environment and have a chance for the teachers to meet her and get to know her a little bit. And then came a bit of the waiting game where you kind of wait to find out if your child's been accepted. So I did feel that there was that it was a pretty seamless process, and that Montcrest and the other schools as well were quite helpful during it.
And how did Abby and Claire respond overall to being at Montcrest so far? Have they had a positive or negative experience thus far?
Oh, definitely, definitely a positive experience. This time of like distance learning, they were really enjoying it, but they were so desperately happy to get back to school and be with their friends and just be in that environment. So definitely overall, very, very positive.
And is the school and faculty able to support Abby and Claire with their individual learning styles?
Yes, definitely. A really good example of that kind of individualized approach at Montcrest is the reading groups, and I believe they go from grades 1 through grade 5, where the children are paired or like kind of grouped across the grade with other students who are of a similar reading level, and so it kind of creates this really positive, really supportive approach to learning, and where they'll read aloud and kind of gain that confidence. And so, but it also has lots of flexibility, which allows them to kind of move as they progress as readers throughout. So that has been something I think that they've both really benefited from.
And does their experience at school translate into the home atmosphere? Have you noticed an improvement or difference in their personal growth and development as a result, maybe, of attending Montcrest?
I have actually, yeah. There, Abby has always been a little more introverted, a little shy. Kind of takes a little bit of time to warm up to new situations, and I find that her time at Montcrest has really helped her kind of break out of that comfort zone in a lot of scenarios, and take more risks, and feel more confident. So definitely, I think that the Montcrest environment has helped her in that aspect. And then when I think about Claire, she is a little bit shy as well, but a little more fearless. And so again, there's lots of opportunities for her at school to really try new things, try new sports or new clubs. And I think that that does translate to home life and being, willing to, kind of stretch yourself and put yourself out there in new situations.
And what are their extracurricular opportunities like?
So there's so many clubs. Sometimes they have to actually choose between two or three that they want to do just because they happen to fall at the same time. So they've both experimented with sports, be it basketball or volleyball or soccer. Um, but they also, I would say that they're more interested in kind of the creative arts side of it. So there are clubs that are related to dance, there are clubs related to drama. Montcrest Singers is another club that they've both joined, which is just a smaller choir that kind of travels around a little bit and gives performances. They also sing in assemblies. There's probably so many that I'm forgetting. They're really endless.
And if you can name one thing individually that you think Abby and Claire liked the most about their experience so far, what do you think that might be?
I think for Abby, it's some of the leadership opportunities. So a chance um, to really put herself in situations where she can lead. So an example of that is the Peacemakers Club that the school runs. So it's a chance where students learn conflict resolution between their peers, and then they get a chance to put that into practice during shifts at recess. And so it's, again, I think a source of pride for her to have, gone through that and be able to help her friends in that way. She's also been involved in the student ambassador program, where she's part of a select group of kids who meet with potential families who are coming and visiting the school, or students that are visiting for a half a day, and she'll be asked to kind of pair up with them and give them a tour and share her experiences with it. And again, I think that's a source of pride for her to be able to share that. Um, and for Claire specifically, I mean, she really loves like just the friend aspect of school, like having so many different friends that she can participate in those clubs with and spend time with at recess. She's been involved in some of the drama productions as well, and she really loves to dance. So the school has an annual dance program that they put on, and the children can group themselves with other students, or they can do a number individually, and they rehearse and they put on a really amazing production for the end of the school year.
So what were you were saying with Claire? It sounds like the extracurriculars she's involved in are her passions. She's able to demonstrate that. And with Abby, it really sounds like leadership opportunities, and they're fostering that independence within her individually.
Yeah.
And as a parent, what is one thing that you personally appreciate and like the most about their experience there so far?
I think I like that it's not, that the focus of the staff and the faculty is not just on the academic side of things. They really look at the children kind of like as a whole and really focus on kind of that social and emotional aspect of being at school. I think at every parent-teacher interview that I have attended, you know, there's the normal discussion about how your child is progressing and, you know, the academic side of it, but then there's always discussion about dynamics with friends and how my children are coping with workload or the expectations of school. And I really feel a partnership with the teachers in creating kind of the best atmosphere and supporting the kids where they need it. So that's probably the single most thing that I appreciate most about our experience there.
And in regards to your daughters, was there any extracurricular project assignment or some other highlight that you were specifically proud of that they were a part of?
Yeah, gosh, there's probably so many. Just this past year, Claire was chosen as one of the finalists for Speak Out Montcrest. So starting in grades 4, the children are learning how to write a speech and deliver a speech, so a really robust public speaking exercise. And so she worked really hard on writing the speech and preparing it and rehearsing, and she delivered it to her class, and then she was chosen to go on to the next round. So she was so extremely proud and so happy to have been chosen and really threw herself into that activity.
And do you have a fond memory that you can speak about from your time there?
I think I look back on when we first started at the school. Abby was joining SK, and that entire environment it felt really magical to us. Like it was kind of the children in those grades are tucked away in a slightly separate part of the school. It's so, you know, everything about each day is so inquisitive and, you know, really fostering, really fostering kind of curiosity and exploration. And she would just come home every day so happy to be there. And so it was just, from the beginning, it was just such a positive experience. And since then, there's just been so many. I also think about each year, the fall fair, which is more of a social event where in the past they've transformed the entire school grounds into a bit of a carnival feel where there are games and activities and popcorn and face painting and all those kinds of things, where it's a chance for the whole school community to get together. So I always look forward to those events as well.
I imagine as a parent, you're really happy that your children are so passionate and excited to go to school.
I am, yes, very much so.
And was there anything that you found surprising about your time at Montcrest? Maybe something you weren't expecting until you were kind of thrown into this private school experience?
I think one thing was I was a little bit surprised, to be honest, about how much time they have off, how much time off they have. It's just something, you know, that logistically you don't think about until you're in the situation. But at the same time, it has kind of benefited us. Like there's extra time at Christmas, gives you time to spend more time with family and friends. The summer is a little bit extended. So I think that was one thing that I was not kind of prepared for necessarily. That's the only thing that comes to mind right now.
So I'm curious to ask you a little bit more about the school's values, because typically every school will have a list of values on a website or in the school itself, but you've
Yeah.
gotten a chance to see what the school is like firsthand as a parent. So what would you say the school's values are in actual practice?
I would say a key one is that individualized approach to learning. So acknowledging that children learn in different ways and then providing alternate ways of teaching in order to solidify those concepts. That's a key one for us. The community and leadership portion, I do believe is a strong value as well. I talked a little bit about some of the leadership opportunities that Abby has had a chance to participate in. And that really spans through even from some of the earlier grades. There are opportunities for some of the older students to have a reading buddy in a younger grade. I think the grade 5s and grade 2s are paired together. There's lots of house spirit activities. So again, a chance for kids across the school to come together and participate in activities. So that sense of community and leadership, I think, is key. And then I think the nurturing part that I talked a little bit about before, again, looking at the child as a whole, both the academic and the kind of emotional side of being at school.
And would you be able to describe a typical family at Montcrest on the topic of community? Would you say that the values and goals are aligned among the parents?
Yeah, definitely. I feel that, the families that we have had a chance to meet and, become friends with definitely share those values. It's hard to describe what a typical family is like because there's so many different dynamics that are represented at Montcrest, which I really enjoy. I think because it's, truly representative of what communities and our culture is like. So yeah, I would definitely say that they're aligned.
And would you say that there's a lot of opportunities for parent involvement?
Absolutely. The Montcrest Parents Association, all parents are actually technically part of that association. There's obviously a um, kind of an executive committee, so people who would like to spend a little more time volunteering, obviously like the president, the vice president role, but there's lots of opportunities within the classroom, like even just on a day-to-day basis. If there was, a science in the classroom activity where an outside group is coming in to run some experiments, there's student parent volunteers who come and participate in those activities. Field trips, larger social activities like the fall fair. So there is lots of chances for those who choose to be, whether you have a little bit of time to give or whether you have a lot.
And what is the relationship like between parents and the faculty, the staff and administration? Do you find that they have an open door policy and that they welcome and encourage communication?
I do, yeah, absolutely. We're encouraged as parents, obviously, to use the homeroom teacher as our kind of first touch point for questions or concerns. But there's definitely an open door policy in terms of reaching out to the head of school or the head of teaching and learning. So they're very welcoming and open to having that dialogue with parents. So it's something we appreciate.
And what about the relationship among students? Do you find that it's a welcoming and inclusive atmosphere and that they foster an environment where long lasting friendships can be built?
Absolutely, yes. Abby, in particular, gets excited each year when she knows that there are new students who are joining. She obviously has friends who she's known since she started in SK in grade 1, that those friendships have carried throughout the years as well. But, students come and go. They, might just move or switch to a different school. So there's always new students joining each year, and she is always excited about getting a chance to know those students and making them feel welcome. So I definitely feel that it is again that warm, welcoming environment.
And would you be able to speak a little bit more about classroom sizes if they're on the smaller or larger side?
Sure. The typical classroom size, I think, is somewhere between about 16 to maxing out at 20. And it really varies. In our experience, it's varied a little bit from year to year. And they also, I know, try to maintain a healthy balance between girls and boys as well. So it being a co-ed school, sometimes in a particular enrollment year, there will be, more applicants for boys, but they really do try when making those decisions to keep that balance so it's not heavily weighted one side or the other.
And how do you as a parent feel about the classroom sizes? Do you think that it's an adequate size, or do you wish that it would be a little bit smaller and more personal, or a little bit larger in contrast?
I think right now, COVID obviously being a bit of a different situation, so I won't speak specifically to that, but I would say that around that 16 to 20 is kind of a bit of a sweet spot. It's large enough that there's lots of different voices and different opinions coming through in discussions, but it's small enough that both Abby and Claire are getting the individual attention when needed. So I think it's kind of just right for us, actually.
And it sounds like you've had such a wonderful experience at the school, and so have your daughters, but I'm curious to play devil's advocate for a moment. So if there was a weakness or just an opportunity for growth and development that you see with the school, what do you think that might be?
I think one area that I would like to see some growth in is some more robust programming in terms of a STEM platform. A couple of years ago, Montcrest introduced a makerspace, which is like a physical classroom where kids are introduced to technology and some robotics and how things are made, and really exploring that. But I would love to see that grow into, more coding opportunities, even more robotics. I think it's just, such an important skill for kids today to be learning, that I really hope that they continue to build on that starting foundation.
And before we wind down and I ask you my last couple questions, is there anything that I haven't asked you about Montcrest yet that you feel is important to mention?
I think that there are some unique aspects in terms of where the school is positioned as well. Again, we live kind of in downtown Toronto, so the fact that Montcrest is nice and close to home really benefits us. But the fact that so many families travel from all over the city is a real testament to the school's reputation. But one of the things that we've always loved is the focus on maximizing time outdoors. So being right next to Riverdale Park gives the kids the opportunity to really, expand the space that they're learning in. So they have, I think normally they have 3 30-minute recesses where they're spending time outside. In the winter, they have an opportunity to skate on the skating pad at Riverdale Park. And then the ravine is close by. So I find it's really a unique setting as well.
And for parents who might be watching this interview who are considering sending their child or children to Montcrest, what advice would you give them? Would you recommend it, and why or why not?
I would definitely recommend it, and I have recommended it to lots of friends. Again, we've had so many positive experiences there that we are happy to share those with others. In terms of advice, I would say, just to be open and honest about, your children's needs and the type of environment that you feel that they will thrive in. I think at the time you're applying, obviously faculty and staff don't have a chance to know your child just yet. So you really kind of are the best advocate for that. And then, obviously your children will get a chance to come and experience it for themselves. But I do feel also along the way, being there for as many years as we've had, is that sometimes, they actually know better what's best for Abby and Claire than I have. They see them in that environment every day. And so it's nice to, once you have a chance to develop that trust with the teachers, and really have that partnership in your child's learning.
And for my very last question for you, if you were to pick up the phone and call your past self before embarking on this entire experience at Montcrest, what would you tell yourself?
Not to start as early as we did. I think we were looking at schools when Abby was only like 2.5. And so I think we stressed ourselves out a little bit. But the other thing too is it's easy to get caught up in the kind of admissions process, and will your child get in? Will your child be accepted? And I find that often it kind of, it works out for the best.